Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and I am back today with my Muggles Wizarding Adventures. I pulled out my Echo Park Witches and Wizards collections, as well as this one-page sketch from Scrapbook Generation that calls for 5 photos, but I'm actually going to get 7 photos on this layout. If you've been following along, this layout is going to go in Eli's 11th birthday celebration where we went to Universal. I recently uploaded a video of the chocolate frog that Eli was able to get while we were there. That is going to be the companion page to this one. I will link it here if you haven't checked it out yet. I thought that that page would work well with this page because they both have a whimsical vibe to it. This layout is going to be about Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, which is the joke shop that is owned by Fred and George Weasley. So I took a bunch of detailed shots of the store while Eli was looking around. He had so much fun looking around at all of the different things that Fred and George had come up with to sell in their shop. I did decide to back the photos with the background piece of paper, so I laid those out first. I have used this sketch quite a bit. It's one of my favorite one-page sketches because it does call for several photos, and when I am doing a one-page sketch, I do like to have lots of photos on my layouts. So once I was able to get the photos matted on the white background, then I started to work on the piece in the center of the layout. These papers are going to cover up the hole that I created by matting my photos, and I started out with this cream colored paper that has a bunch of stars on it, and then I felt like by adding the darker paper to include the red and gold plaid paper as well as the stripe paper and then that gold glittery paper on either side of the star paper really tied this layout together. I did spend a few minutes trying to decide which order I wanted them in, but I think that I have finally figured it out and I am ready to lay my photo down, and that will cover up the entire scene. I did realize that the small strip of paper on the left with the stars had the same colors all the way down, so I cut out another piece so that I could get multiple star colors on that piece of paper. I then decided to ink up the edges with faded jeans, mainly because I wanted to have some ink on the white background paper behind the photos since it was going to be sitting on that white cardstock as well. I pulled out my T-square ruler to help make sure that everything is straight, and I did have to spend a little bit of time making sure that I did not adhere my layout to my mat because you guys know that I have done that before and I wanted to avoid that if at all possible. This shop had so many fun things in it that were also portrayed in the book, like the fever fudge and the nosebleed nuggets, as well as the extendable ear. And those are going to be 3 of the smaller photos that I'm going to add over on the right-hand side. The photos that are on that big area there, of course I had to have a photo of Eli in the shop, and then I also took some pictures of the Chinese fortune sticks as well as the display of all of the different candy items that are not really candy, they're more fun things. That's the photo that's on the very bottom. For the 3 photos that are on the right, I did also decide to back them with white cardstock. I just pulled out some of my scraps and then adhered them down. Then I used my layering guides to cut out a perfect layer around them. I do have a tutorial on this and I will link it here if you would like to check it out. Of course, I did ink up the edges of those photos as well. And I also decided to add some fun foam behind 2 of the photos that are going to be at the bottom. I go ahead and adhere the photos down, and this is where I make a major mistake. I knew that I wanted the name of the joke shop to be very prominent on the layout, and I thought to myself that that space that I left up at the top was going to be perfectly fine, not really paying attention to the amount of space that I was going to need and how long this title is going to be. I do decide to use Nicole's Dicker technique, which is by adhering 2 white base cardstocks and then the pattern paper on top of it. But this time I decided to just use all black cardstock. I did have some like scraps of black cardstock that apparently I had made into a banner at some point in the past, but when I was cleaning out my room last October, I found them and I was like, well, this needs to go in a place that I'm actually going to use them. So I did use a silhouette mat that I had cut down to make sure that I was able to adhere everything properly. And then this is where I am going to very quickly realize that I do not have enough room. And I had added my stamping block on top of the fun foam to make sure that those photos stayed down like they were supposed to. I moved the letters around quite a bit, thinking maybe I can separate it and have Weasley and Wizard at the top and then Wheezes at the bottom. That wasn't going to work. I then thought about moving the Weasley up to the white part of the layout, but I definitely did not like the way that that was looking, and I still really didn't have enough room. So I finally came to the conclusion that I was going to have to pull up those 3 photos that are on the right hand side. Which you guys know that I have to remove things from my layouts quite frequently, and I've just come to accept that my brain isn't going to always process what I exactly need, and sometimes I just have to fix my mistakes. A little bit of the fun foam did get stuck to the layout, so I had to make sure that the letters were placed in a strategic way so that I could still cover up that part of the layout with the photos. So I pull out my T-square ruler so that I can get all of the letters down straight, and it really does take up like a third of the layout. This title is really large, which there's not much going on. It's just pictures of the joke shop. There's one photo of Eli. So I did want that title to be a large portion of the layout. Once I get all the letters down, I then go ahead and lay the photos down, making sure that I covered up that spot that was left by the fun foam. The sketch does call for some banners up in the upper right hand corner, so I pulled out my Big Shot again and I used these banner dies. These dies work perfectly with the branding strip on the Echo Park paper, so I used some of those, and I really like using those for these banners because the print is much smaller and I'm able to really see the print in the banners. So I cut out way more than I needed so that I can make sure that I had enough, and I started to place them down. I started with that star paper that was the same star paper in the larger print on the background, but because I had used the branding strip, the stars on that paper was a lot smaller. I then added some of the same colors with the red and gold plaid, as well as the gold glitter paper. Once I got a nice little cluster going, I decided to go ahead and cut off the excess edges so that I could possibly reuse some of the papers when I'm continuing along with that cluster. I did decide to add the thinner banners on top, and I really like the way that that came out. So now I feel like the base of the layout is completed, and I'm just going to add a few embellishments. There's not a lot that I'm going to add since I do have a lot of photos on this layout, and I do want the photos and that title to be my focal point. So I do add a tag at the top that says magic along with a little bat. Over on the left hand side, I added a cauldron and a little tag that says cast a spell. And then over on the left hand side, I added a potions bottle as well as a little tag that says up to mischief, and then added a few lightning bolts around, and then pulled out my color boxes in black, gray, and red and added some enamel dots as well as some stars and arrows in each one of the clusters. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I hope you guys are enjoying these layouts from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.